Rowena Harry, Senior Subscription Specialist here at Microsol Resources. I want to thank you for joining us today as we are going to have a webinar presenting on Autodesk Desktop Subscription. I would like to also mention that joining me today is Microsol Resources Director of IT, John Semmel. John will be available on this call in case any questions come up of a more technical nature. So let's start with, what is Autodesk Desktop Subscription? These are the three questions that we get asked probably the most. What is Autodesk Desktop Subscription? What are the key features and the benefits of Desktop Subscription? And does Desktop Subscription use the cloud to store the applications? Like, where is this Desktop Subscription? So I will mention that Desktop Subscription is basically the same exact software as an Autodesk perpetual license. And this software does reside locally. You download this software, you install this software, and it resides as well as your files locally. There are some cloud benefits to Desktop Subscription depending on the product you have. So just like maintenance subscription, there are in some cases select cloud services, which we'll go over a little bit later. And the key benefits are very similar again to Autodesk perpetual licenses on maintenance subscription. Now, the differentiating factor between Autodesk Desktop Subscription and perpetual licenses is that Desktop Subscription requires a unique email address, which identifies that person as a named user. Each user will require their own Desktop Subscription for any Autodesk product they require. This user can have the software installed on multiple machines, but they should not access it concurrently. So this is a change. While you may already be assigning users to perpetual licenses to give them access to those additional cloud benefits that may come with your Autodesk perpetual license product, it was not a requirement. You could still take the software out of the box and use it. That's not the case with Desktop Subscription. Desktop Subscription, you need to have an email address assigned to one user, and that user will then be associated with a Desktop Subscription license. To further differentiate what's going on with Autodesk and how that affects your situation right now or your decisions and considerations for the near as well as the extended future, I created this table here with your purchasing options. So let's look at this together. So today, perpetual licenses of both individual software, that's non-suite software, as well as suite software, is available. After January 31st of 2016, non-suite Autodesk software will no longer be available as a perpetual license. Network options for non-suite Autodesk software will go away. The options for Autodesk non-suite software will be Desktop Subscription, and that will include what Autodesk will introduce, which I'll talk about in the next slide, Network Subscription. So what I'm saying is that after January 31st, 2016, if you want to purchase a product like Autodesk AutoCAD or Autodesk Revit Architecture, that product will be purchased as a Desktop Subscription. You will have the ability to network that software so that it can run with your existing network license if needed. Now, the second wave comes August 1st, 2016, where Autodesk plans to do away with all perpetual licenses, including their suite. So come July 31st, 2016, that will be the last day to purchase any Autodesk perpetual license and place it on maintenance subscription. Also, when it comes to Design and Creation Suite, Autodesk does not currently have a network option for Desktop Subscription. They are working on it. There is not a timeline given as to its completion. So there is a good chance that on August 1st, 2016, if you need a Desktop Subscription, which will be what's available as a purchasing option for a Design and Creation Suite, you may not be able to network that, to add that to your existing network seats of perpetual licenses of Design and Creation Suites on maintenance subscription. So that's very important. Why? Because if you're thinking you might need licenses long term, please give us a call over here at Microsol Resources so we can discuss this in more detail with you, clear up any confusion, go over the timeline, and go over the options available to you. Finally, when it comes to this table, I want to point out that after July 31st, 2016, maintenance subscription will still be available. If you have perpetual licenses and you're maintaining them on subscription, that will be continuing, and as well as Desktop Subscription. So those will be the offering. We're not talking about cloud subscription at this moment. We're just talking about these two product offerings. Maintenance subscription for your existing perpetual licenses will continue as normal, as well as Desktop Subscription for all, if not all, almost all Autodesk products. So just let me clarify this network subscription a little bit more here. So I don't know too much about this network subscription offering, but what I do know, you will purchase desktop subscription of a product, and then if you need that product to have network capabilities, you will purchase network subscription on top of that. And it will work and coexist seamlessly with your existing Autodesk non-suite software. How is that going to work with suite software? I do not know, but I do know that Autodesk is actively working on this solution, and they will give us more information as it becomes available. So what are the benefits exclusive to desktop subscription? I'm going to show you a couple of slides on this, but let me just mention these here. Lowest cost of entry. That's true, and you're going to see that in a few slides. If you need an Autodesk product today, you purchase that product. You purchase a perpetual license of that product, and we highly recommend you purchase maintenance subscription with that product so that you can continue to receive the benefits and protect the investment that you made. But that's the options available to you. However, with the introduction of desktop subscription, which is also available right now for just about all of Autodesk products, you don't have to make that decision to purchase the software if you don't need the software long term. There are times where you do not need to have Autodesk software as a perpetual license. Some of the reasons is if you're hiring temporary staff, or if you have a project that requires a certain product that you would not need or that you could possibly build to that project. That's a very good reason why you would say, lowest cost of entry makes sense for us for that product. And that really ties into the other two benefits that quickly ramp up and down. If you have a project and you need, let's say, a product like Navisworks Manage that comes standalone or in a suite, and you're like, hey, we could use a couple of other things, you could just go ahead and say, we're going to get this on desktop subscription. We're going to build this out to the project. And then, in 3 months, 1 year, we're not going to worry about constantly maintaining this as you might be doing with perpetual licenses that you purchase just on a project basis because you didn't have a choice before. So it also ties into reduced risk. Because of this option of the flexibility to purchase any of Autodesk software portfolio for a certain period of time, you have that ability to try before you buy almost. Even though you are buying it, you're not really committing to the expensive side that you might have done in the past with perpetual licenses. Does this mean that perpetual licenses don't make sense? Absolutely not. Perpetual licenses do make sense for a lot of scenarios. And while you're thinking about the processes when considering if desktop subscription is the right choice, let's look at some of the considerations on this slide. This slide kind of breaks it down for you. It tells you some of the questions you should be asking yourself when it comes to purchasing Autodesk software. And these are the questions you can ask yourself right now today because both perpetual licenses and desktop subscription is available. When does desktop subscription make sense? It absolutely makes sense if you are using your software outside of the country. You purchase it in the U.S., you can use it outside the country a little bit more flexibly than you can use perpetual licenses on maintenance subscription. If you need the software for less than a year, well, there is no perpetual license on desktop subscription that probably makes sense for less than a year. So that's a very good reason why you should be pricing out Autodesk desktop subscription. Is this license for temporary staff? If it is for temporary staff, another very good choice to consider would be desktop subscription over perpetual licenses. And sometimes even if you plan on using this software long term, you might have cash flow issues where coming up with several $1,000s to purchase the software and perpetual licenses isn't an option. At that point, no upfront investment that's too high, go with desktop subscription. So here are the benefit comparison chart. You can see that maintenance subscription, which most of the customer base for Autodesk is currently on with perpetual licenses, desktop subscription has all of those benefits tied to a perpetual license with maintenance subscription. But there's those added benefits. There's the scalable licensing and the pay-as-you-go and the lower upfront costs that we just discussed. There are some major benefits to considering desktop subscription for future buying purchases while you have the choice. But I'm also giving you the full picture for when the choice no longer exists between perpetual and desktop. So currently, these are the terms that Autodesk offers for desktop subscription: monthly, quarterly, annually, and multi-year, 2 or 3 year. So we're going to go through some pricing in a moment, but I will say that choosing the longer term locks in greater savings. And I'm going to go through that in the next slide. So depending on the type of work you have and the type of reasoning that you're needing the software, it'll probably fit into one of these terms right here. So here's the dollar and cents chart. Okay, so we're going to spend a minute on this chart here. Let me let you take it in here. So this chart is an example of Autodesk SRP pricing for standalone software. not taking into account network options. Let's just keep it simple for an Autodesk Revit architecture product. So the first row, perpetual licenses plus annual maintenance subscription. So what does that cost to get one seat of standalone Autodesk Revit architecture plus maintenance subscription? $5,775 upfront plus $845, right? And then next year, $845, right? That's what you'd be looking at paying if you were, and today you have this choice. Today through January 31st, 2016, you can purchase this product and any standalone non-suite Autodesk product, and you would be able to put on perpetual license on maintenance subscription, any non-suite Autodesk product, right? So, but this is the cost of this one, right? Now let's compare that. Quarterly desktop subscription. You decide you need this for a quarter. You need this for 3 months. That's going to cost you $865. Now that's a lot less than purchasing a perpetual license, but it's still not cheap, right? But if you just need it for that 3 months, that might make sense for you, right? Now if you say, we could use this for a while, annual desktop subscription, $2,310. That's not horrible, right? When you look at the cost, the upfront investment in a perpetual license of this product, that's what you'd be looking at, $2,310, right? That's like 1/3 the price, right? So some folks are always like, hey, we don't even do this every 3 years and stuff like that. So, maybe this might be something you could think about. Now, the 3-year desktop subscription, I will say SRP pricing right now has it basically for the same price times 3, multiply it times 3. But what you're doing for 3 years is you're locking in the saving, right? You know your price for 3 years for your desktop subscription. And the reason why that's important is because desktop subscription is going to be the option going forward. Come July 31st, that will be the last day where any perpetual licenses are being sold for commercial use. So desktop subscription is going to be the way we're going to start talking about it in the future, right? Should you do quarterly? Should you do annual? Should you do a multi-year, a 2 or a 3 year? And I would definitely always say when this is the only option, go with the multi-year if you can, because you know that you're locking in the cost of that product, which I can't imagine would go down, but that's my thoughts on the pricing of this. Now, before we jump into how to manage desktop subscription, I just want to clarify what these roles are, because we talk a lot about what is a contract manager, what is a software coordinator, but maybe folks don't really know what the differences are. So please just take a moment, let's review this together. A contract manager, they're responsible for the overall user management. They can assign users to access products, they can assign access to services, create cases, downloads, and they can set the secondary administrator, the software coordinator, who defaults as a contract manager if no one else is set. They can control and monitor cloud credit usage. They can receive the contract communications that Autodesk sends out, the general contract communications, as well as the ones that we, Microsol Resources, would be sending out. And a contract manager, there can only be one per contract. One person is assigned the contract manager. Compare that with the software coordinator, very similar, responsible for user management for specific licenses, meaning that the ones that the contract manager has assigned them access to, and they can do many of the other things that the contract manager can do once they're given the access to do that, and there can be one per serial number. So you can have multiple software coordinators based on how much serial numbers you have, and one serial number can contain multiple seats, right? So you might have different products that are managed by different departments, and you might just section those off by software coordinator and pick one for each department for each product, however you choose to group these together. And if you have any questions about these administrator roles or, serial number usage or anything like that, don't hesitate to ask me. So now that we have an idea of the contract administrators, I'm going to tell you what we're going to be covering here. We're going to be going through this named user process that I mentioned earlier. Like, what exactly is the difference between desktop subscription and a perpetual licenses? How do we get it up and running? So the contract manager, the software coordinator, defaults to the named user, right? So if you purchase this product through Microsol Resources, you're the contract manager and the software coordinator, unless you start telling us differently. That's how it starts out as. So the administrator, the contract manager, or the software coordinator, they access Autodesk account, right? They access Autodesk account, the interface where Autodesk has, where you manage all your software and services. You confirm the desktop subscription licenses are available by locating them under the All Products and Services tab. Then you add a new user and assign them the benefit needed to access their software, or you edit an existing user and assign. And then that triggers an email from Autodesk to the user. So now that I've broken that down, let's just go over it a little bit. Now, before I go through my last remaining slides, I want to mention that things are going to very likely change because Autodesk is constantly recognizing areas of improvement and streamlining this process. So I can tell you as of last night, this is all current information, but this could change. And that's a good thing, that Autodesk is being much more proactive when it comes to streamlining and improving upon this process. I also want to mention that I have this blog post on our website that is definitely covering this topic more succinctly. So if my slide deck looks a little like much, please don't hesitate to visit our website. Right here, I'm clicking on it to show you, blog.microsolresources.com. You can just search in this area here for this particular post, and I'll just scroll down to show you that I think I've broken it down as simple yet as precise as possible. So I hope that you also will find it helpful to you. Okay, so please feel free to go ahead and look at that should my slide deck confuse you a bit. Okay, so jumping along. What to expect after your Autodesk desktop subscription license, right? So you go ahead and you purchase this software from us, right? What happens next? You get mail, and then you get mail again. Yes, it's a little bit of a confusing process, but apparently Autodesk sends you some information, order confirmation email, and then they send you some more information at a later date. Now, a lot of times when you get that order confirmation email, you might be like, am I good to go? You may or may not be good to go. But when you get that get started email, then you are absolutely good to go. But sometimes I'm like, you don't have to wait. What do you do if you're like, hey, did I miss the second email? What's going on? What you can do is you can always access Autodesk account without the Autodesk email. You just go to this website right here on the screen, accounts.autodesk.com, and type in your Autodesk account ID and your password. Now, if you're new to this and this is like your first purchase and you don't have this information, I can tell you that 9 out of 10, your email address is your Autodesk account ID. And your password can be reset, like within seconds. You go ahead and go to accounts.autodesk.com and you choose the forgot option, and you can absolutely go ahead and type in your email address and you're going to get a reset email, and then you can access Autodesk account. Now, if you are not the purchaser or the administrator, a user can't access Autodesk account like this. They actually have to be invited by an administrator. So if you're a named user or an end user, please talk to your administrator about getting you access, because it doesn't work as simply as that. Now, this is the Autodesk account user interface. I'm not going to be going over this. I'm just pointing this out to you so that the slide deck that I'm going to show you doesn't look too strange to you. I should also mention that we have a great presentation that we recorded that's available on our website that covers navigating Autodesk account. It is also available in sections on our YouTube channel. So don't hesitate if you need to familiarize yourself with Autodesk account to visit those resources to go ahead and do so. So this is what the Autodesk account looks like right now. And I should mention that the first two choices, the products and services as well as the reporting, that's available to anyone who has access to Autodesk account, while the devices and the users and the billings and order sections are really visible to only the administrators. Alrighty, so you go ahead and you log into Autodesk account, right? And this is where I would like you to go. You should visit Autodesk account, and there's only two tabs when you access Autodesk account, the Profile tab and the Management tab. And you're going to go ahead and go to the Management tab if it doesn't take you there already, and you're going to go right here, you're going to go left and go to Products and Services and click on that. And when you click on that, you will see a list of all your products and services. So you can go ahead, this list is alphabetized, so you can go ahead and scroll this list and look for that desktop subscription that you purchased, because it's going to be alphabetized. As you can see, I have an AutoCAD LT here, and it says 2 seats desktop subscription. So you will see that it's pointing out that it's a desktop subscription offering, so you'll be aware in case you have multiple products like perpetual licenses of this exact product, you'll know which one's which. So you go ahead and locate this product, right? Then what you do is you click. You click right here, this drop-down arrow, to get this information. When you click the arrow to the left of the product, it's going to drill down to the license details, which includes the serial numbers, the product key, I should say the serial number, not numbers, the product key, the quantity of seats available, and download option. Now, I have a tip here that Autodesk desktop subscription licenses have the same serial number for current and prior versions, but the product key is specific to each version. So as you can see, I kind of added that we have a blog post. You can go back to that blog.microsolresources.com and search for any version and any product key. We have like from 2010 up. So if you don't have it available to you, know that the serial number is always going to be the same for desktop subscription. It's just a product key that's going to change. So, okay, so you see that your product's available here, right? You see like, okay, I purchased 2 seats of AutoCAD LT. Here they are available, 2 of 2 available. So you know you're good to go, right? You know they're there already. The last thing you want to do is start trying to add users and then you're looking for your product because sometimes it's not there. I also want to point out that if you see this More Actions button here, you can go ahead and click that More Actions button and then click Manage Access to Versions. Well, actually, let me just mention, this is gone right here. Autodesk had this here and now it's gone. So let's pretend this little area is not here. But if you do click the More Actions button, what is there, which I noticed was there last night, is you can add users directly from here, which is a good thing. So if you're already familiar with the whole adding and editing and assigning, you can just do it from right here. You see that your desktop subscription from this previous slide is available, and you go ahead and you click this More Actions area, and instead of Manage Access to Versions, you'll see Add User, and you can go ahead and add the user right then and there. Now, let me also point out something very important here. 2 of 2 seats available. Let's say you see 1 of 2 seats available, and a lot of times people do, right? Or 0 of 1 available. They purchase 1 seat, where'd it go? They purchased 2 seats, where'd 1 go? These MIA seats are because the first seat is assigned to the contract manager. So if you are purchasing Autodesk desktop subscription, there's a very good chance with every purchase 1 seat might default and be assigned to the contract manager. So I'm going to show you how to unassign that seat and reassign that seat to the user you might want to. If you are the sole proprietor, so you're the contract manager, you're the user, you're good to go here. You know, the seat's already assigned to you. You just make sure that your product's here if you like, and you're good to go. But if you're not and you're assigning seats to users, then that's very important for you to know. Okay, jumping ahead here, this is how you're going to add users, okay, or even edit users, reassign users, check what users have. You go to Autodesk account, but you go to the Management tab if you're not already there, and then this is for administrators. You go ahead and scroll down to Manage Users, well, first Users, this one here, and then this Manage Users come up, and you'll click Manage Users. And this is where you can locate existing users, add new users, and assign them to the seats and the benefits you need. I want to point out here, if you are reassigning Autodesk Desktop Subscription, which probably will happen, right, here and there, do not just delete the user. Let's say my colleague here, Cora Coates, has a seat of desktop subscription that she should no longer have. I'm not going to go ahead and delete her. I am going to edit her access and remove these benefits, which I'll show you in another slide, before I delete her. Because then, if you delete her first, the seat may go missing in action, and then we have to call Autodesk or try and figure out how to get it back. So, we should avoid that if possible by first removing access to desktop subscription licenses before deleting the user. And I also want to point out, you're still here in the same place, you're still in Management, and in the Manage User section here, there's a filter option here where you can filter for quite a number of things. But I find that filtering is very helpful for companies that have a lot of products and a lot of users, because when you want to find who has what, see they have a lot of options here to go ahead and filter through. So please go ahead and take a look at that. And as you start to build up your license portfolio, you might find this quite helpful. So we're still here. We're still in Management in this slide, and we are still in the Manage Users area. But let me show you without me opening it up. You see this little Add thing here, right here, Add? It's here, right? So you go ahead and click Add, and you can go ahead and add the users and save and continue, or you can add other users, or you can do bulk add. And if you're like, how do I add users? We have a great clip of our presentation that was recorded and uploaded to our YouTube. So please don't hesitate to be like, this section is important, but she's jumping over it. We can absolutely cover that more on if you want to do a one-on-one, but if not, you can absolutely check out our YouTube channel, and I'll cover this in a lot more detail. And it'll be live. It'll be a live demonstration, so that might be a little easier So once you go ahead and add this user and you click Save and Continue, this is what happens. Let me just see. I apologize. This slide is out of order. I'll show you this in a second. Basically, this opens up here, this pop-up window. I just added test message, and now what I'm doing is I am locating that Autodesk software to assign to them. Once I click this arrow to the left of the product, I can choose what I want to assign to them, or I can click on this one assign area to just have all of these chosen automatically. I should mention that as of now, desktop access should be chosen to access desktop subscription. That may change. That may not be a requirement all the way. This system has a couple of glitches, but just pointing out best practices to get this software working properly. Just to jump back this slide here, I just want to mention that for existing users, administrators should locate the existing user and choose the edit access to proceed with the same process of assigning seats and benefits. Okay, so while I'm jumping back one slide, while you would add a new user, if this user already exists, just look through your list here. Just go through Manage and go to Manage Users and look through the list. And if the user is already there, then just click the Edit Access to give them that desktop subscription or to remove that desktop subscription. All right, so we'll jump past this one because we covered that. So once you go ahead and assign, right, you assign this to the user, you click Save right over here, and they're there, right? So once the seat is assigned, you will see the new user will now appear in the list, and a pop-up message will advise that the user may have received 100 starter cloud credits if they have not consumed them already. And if you have any questions on cloud credits, we can cover that. I'm not going to cover it now, but if you have any questions, type them in, and we can cover them during the Q&A portion. Okay, so once you see this message here as an administrator, you would then pay attention to this status column right over here. These are all green check marks, and that's the way you want it to be. If it's not green, there's a good chance that a required step from the named user has not been completed, which is that they need to look out for that Autodesk email and go ahead and complete the required steps to creating their Autodesk account profile so that they can run the software. And unlike administrators, that named user needs to go ahead and access that email. They cannot access Autodesk subscription without that email. Now, there have been times where a named user, will be created and they'll miss the email, and the administrator will be like, okay, go ahead and try what we did. Put your email address, reset your password. It could work, it could not work, because sometimes Autodesk seems to just want you to go through that link through that email. So if you're having problems with the named user and getting this green check mark to appear and getting that user access to Autodesk desktop subscription, give us a buzz. We'll troubleshoot the issue. We know a couple of things that might be causing it, and while Autodesk gets everything worked out, we can help you troubleshoot why that may or may not be working out. But once you're here and you've got this message here, this user is practically good to go. This user is going to get an email similar to the one you see on the screen here, and it's going to tell them what their next steps are, and it's going to give them this little link here to access Autodesk account, and then they're going to go ahead in Autodesk account and go through the same process that we went through as an administrator, except theirs will be a little different, right? They're going to go ahead and go to products and services. I'll just jump back. Sorry, guys, but let me just show you. Just jump all the way back here. They're going to go access Autodesk account just like an administrator. They're going to see the profile in the management section, but they're not going to see these extra things. Remember the billing and orders and the users and the devices, but they're going to see their products and services. Their list may be less because it will just show what they've been assigned, but they will do the same thing. They will locate their Autodesk software, and this time they will click the downloads area, and they will go ahead and have the option to download their software. They will go ahead and have this option coming up right here. And if there's any restricted access set by the administrator, they will get some message here saying like, oh, contact administrator for serial number or something like that. Otherwise, they can go ahead and download the software at that time and install the software. And we also cover that at great length in blog posts as well as in YouTube videos, how to go ahead and download software. We cover that in detail. So if that's something you're interested in finding out how to do, please go ahead and visit our YouTube channel, and you can see many of the helpful videos that I'm talking about here. So then I'm just ending this with an Autodesk slide that I borrowed about the workflow. So this is basically when things go right, you see that splash screen, you get the privacy policy dialog box that you have to agree to, then you sign in and your product runs. There are, some issues that may happen if you are not connected to the internet. Would be an issue whenever you run a desktop subscription for the first time. You do need to have internet access, as well as at a minimum every 30 days after. So you might get an error message for those reasons, like not being connected to the internet or not having access. And in that case, you would contact your administrator, or you would contact us at Microsol Resources if the issue seems to be something that the administrator doesn't know how to address. So I want to show you what I had mentioned here, some of our resources at Microsol Resources, including our website, our subscription landing page. If you go to microsolresources.com, you can literally just find it, or you can just go ahead and type in subscription to locate it. And we do have subscription offerings broken down with maintenance subscription, desktop subscription, as well as cloud service subscription. And we do have some valuable resources, including the network subscription FAQ and the perpetual license changes FAQ that you may find helpful. We also have our YouTube channel that I pointed out that I think would be very helpful to cover in detail some of the things I skimmed over. You can go to youtube.com/user/Microsol Resources, or you can easily access this from our website. So feel free to go ahead and visit our YouTube channel, and you can see that we have a great video that explains a little bit more detail what Microsol Resources Complete Solutions offers to our customers and the benefits of partnering with Microsol Resources. And then if you scroll down, you can view our videos that are relevant to the AEC industry. And you can go ahead and, click the videos, and then they can come up in a nice, easy to skim through and scroll through list. So I just want to recap what we covered today. We went through an overview on Autodesk Desktop Subscription, did a comparison between Autodesk Desktop Subscription with Autodesk Perpetual Licenses on Maintenance Subscription, covered how Autodesk has come up with things like network subscription so that Autodesk Desktop Subscription can coexist with Autodesk Perpetual Licenses. We've covered the benefits of Autodesk Desktop Subscription, which is very similar to the benefits of perpetual licenses on maintenance subscription, except with that added value of less risk, less cost up front, and greater flexibility. And we went through a dry run of how to manage your desktop subscription in Autodesk account so that you can get you and or your staff up and running. So with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for attending today's presentation, and that concludes this webinar.